Am I the asshole for siding with my 28M sister-in-law, 34F, over my wife, 26F? My wife is a beautiful hard-working woman who has a high education and a solid career. We were college sweethearts and have been married 2 years. We own a house together, we both have master's degrees and careers that we worked hard for. We're currently trying for a baby as we're ready to take the next step in our lives. From what I gathered from my in-laws, my wife's older sister is her half-sibling. They have the same father but grew up in different households. After their father's infidelity in his first marriage with my SIL's mom, her parents divorced, then my father-in-law remarried and had my wife with his new wife. I heard my sister-in-law grew up in poverty with her mother in a rundown area and saw my father-in-law on weekends. My wife's parents, father-in-law and Mill, are very educated and have solid careers as well. My wife grew up in a 2-parent household in the suburbs. Apparently my sister-in-law is also disabled. I'm a very empathetic person and was curious to know what happened, so I gently brought it up to my sister-in-law during an outdoor family get-together. She confirmed it was all true and went into further detail. She had multiple surgeries for medical conditions, was bullied in school, almost died twice, her mother was poor and struggling, etc. Despite her degree, she's been trying to get employed for years and has used temp agencies, but she said employers terminate her as soon as she requests accommodations, so she's been on off government assistance for years. She's also medically sterile. She's apparently also been in therapy for over 10 years. At this point my sister-in-law started tearing up, so I ended the conversation and apologized for asking. Later on at home, when I brought up the conversation to my wife, she immediately goes on to say that her sister has a tendency to play the victim, she needs to be patient, work harder, etc., etc. After getting to know my sister-in-law more, though, I'm even more grateful for what I have. My wedding with my wife was paid for by our family. We have solid careers that we got right out of college, we're in great health, we have a bunch of friends and we're never bullied in school. When I brought up that I'm so thankful that we're so fortunate, my wife immediately got defensive and goes on about hard work, not to let the past define you, anyone can make it if they try hard enough, etc. I've never seen this side of her before. While I acknowledge we've both worked very hard to get where we are, I gently told her we do have our parents and upbringings to thank for that. She snapped at me. She's a licensed counselor, but I honestly thought she would be more empathetic to her own family member who's been through so much. I definitely would. Thankfully my siblings never went through that, but I couldn't even imagine if they did. Am I the asshole for taking my SIL's side over my wife's? Edit. Thank you for the replies and sorry for any confusion. What I left out is what confuses me the most, is I'm hearing things from my other in-laws that match up with what my sister-in-law said. Basically it's my wife's word against my Sil, Phil, Bill, Mill, etc. My sister-in-law is also apparently low contact with father-in-law, and father-in-law doesn't know why. It's all confusing to me. Info. I honestly thought she would be more empathetic to her own family member who's been through so much. What makes you think she doesn't know more of the story than you do? Info. What do you mean, from what you gathered, from the in-laws, you heard your sister-in-law grew up in poverty, etc.? You brought stuff up with your Sil? Did you ever bring stuff up with your wife? Did you ever ask her the story of her childhood, and her perspective on her sister-in-law and the details of their relationship? So you talked to the sister-in-law, and then, never having discussed any of these issues with your wife, you immediately decided you knew better than your wife what the story was. Seems weird. It's easier to write the narrative in her head that her sister is playing the victim and not trying hard enough than it is to realize that as a result of her own parents' faults, father commenting adultery and her mother being part of that, and the results left a girl growing up in poverty while she had a great life. Not the asshole. Her parents probably conditioned her to think that way about the family her father abandoned when her mother twitched her tail. Easier than to look at it without excuses. As a licensed counselor you would expect empathy, but not from your wife, I guess. Which makes your wife not the asshole. Disabled people face discrimination all the time, and temp agencies usually can fire you at any notice, even if it isn't a right to work state. You pointing your privilege doesn't negate the hard work you and wife put in to get to where you are. Privilege just means less obstacles. Being able to study in a clean, healthy, peaceful environment is completely different than the stress of living in poverty, and I'm assuming OFC, going to an under-resourced school. Your wife doesn't get it because she hasn't experienced it or talked to sister enough to feel empathetic. When I brought up that I'm so thankful that we're so fortunate, my wife immediately got defensive. Lol, the typical, why should show I any gratitude when I definitely didn't benefit from my comfortable middle-class life? IDK, why people have such a hard time acknowledging the factors that benefited them aside from hard work. Am I the asshole for telling my daughter to eat healthy before chemo? So my daughter F21 is about to start BEP chemo. She just had major surgery to take out a tumor she had in her left ovary. She is eating very poorly, take out every day, like spaghetti pizza and Coke. She'll rarely eat healthy stuff. She says, I'm eating what I can while I can because in a few weeks I don't anymore. But I think she should be getting more healthy to prepare because it's very intensive, i.e., nausea, acid reflux, etc. She said to stop making it about me and to let her do what she wants, but I'm really worried she's not listening to the orders of the doctor in regards to healing. She is going out to the movies when she should be resting. She said that it's my body and to stop making it about me, but I'm genuinely worried about her health. Also, she isn't obese or anything, I am just worried she isn't taking her health seriously. Oncology nurse here, you are the asshole. I specifically include education to patient families on the first day of what not to do. And this is it: don't force feed, don't control food offered, and don't comment on food eaten. The only thing you should be worried about is if she loses more than 5% her body weight, heading towards malnutrition and needs a dietitian consult for support, or if loss of taste buds, smell sensitivity is causing issues. Your role as a family member is to just slow down and be loving, and advocate if they ask you to. You are the asshole. Your heart is in the right place, but you aren't seeing things from her point of view. She's 21 years old with a very serious form of cancer. That's not something a 21-year-old is mentally equipped to deal with, who is, really. She doesn't have the emotional or mental bandwidth to be concerned about that right now. It would be one thing if you brought her healthy meals so she didn't have to cook, get takeout or something, but you nagging her about her diet is not what she needs right now. You aren't helping, you're just causing more stress. Also, going out to the movies isn't exactly exerting. You are the asshole. She said to stop making it about me and to let her do what she wants. Get off your adult-ass daughter's jock. She is going out to the movies when she should be resting. IDK how you attend movies, but I just sit in a chair the whole time. As a dietitian who knows a thing or two about nutrition, you are the asshole. You are the asshole. It's your daughter's body, she gets to decide what to put in it. You need to stop acting like your daughter's doctor unless she needs and asks you to. One thing you need to understand is that your daughter has cancer. She has a steady team of doctors and she doesn't need any unqualified doctors at home. She needs her mom, not a doctor or dictator. Going to the movies isn't going to affect her. All she's doing is sitting there watching moving pictures on a screen. She isn't bungee jumping. I understand that you're scared and worried, but your daughter needs support and love, not more doctoring and dictatorship. You are the asshole. You are the asshole. A family member is currently battling late-stage cancer. Loss of appetite is a big concern. The dietitian told them to eat as much calories as possible. The best food is whatever food they want to eat. You want ice cream for breakfast? Great, go for it. Also, the movies are just sitting in a comfortable chair and watching the screen. It sounds perfect for rest. Am I the asshole for telling my boyfriend my dad was dead? I, 26F, lost my mother to cancer when I was 8 and have always had an absent father. I only found out who he was when I was 13, and even then he did not want custody of me, forcing me to stay in the foster system until I was 18. Over my whole life I have had about 5 conversations with him, give or take. He is like a stranger to me. He appears once in a blue moon to ask for money or something along those lines. It doesn't really bother me anymore. I've just learned to accept it now, but I don't like talking about it, so to avoid that conversation with people I usually just say both my parents are dead. This leads me to a year and a half ago when I had just started dating my boyfriend, 25M. And like usual I had just told him my parents were dead, but the other day my dad showed up at my door. I still don't know how he knows where I live, and asked for $100, except my boyfriend was there and he obviously found out my dad was not dead. This led to a long conversation with him that night where I explained the whole situation. He said this was a breach of trust between us since I lied about my dad and that he needed some space to rethink our relationship, but he doesn't think he will leave me. I feel so shitty and that I should have told him earlier, but I am going to be honest, I just didn't think. So am I the asshole? Update. My boyfriend texted me 5 minutes ago asking to talk, so we are going to have a full in-depth conversation tomorrow after work and I'll update again then. Update 2, last update. Before I get to the update I would like clear things up. 1. I have only given money to my dad once when I was still desperate for his love and acceptance, but he did not get any money this time. 2. Despite his confusion my boyfriend stepped in to defend me and get my dad to leave, and it was only after my dad left he asked me about it. Now on to the update. My boyfriend told me that all the sudden information along with the knowledge I hadn't told him the truth was very overwhelming and he just needed some space to not say the wrong thing. He also said that he got why I lied initially and he wasn't mad that I lied, more hurt that I felt like I couldn't tell him about it. He also mentioned that he couldn't be there for me if he didn't know what was going on. The conversation ended in tears and it is the most vulnerable I have been in front of someone. He was very understanding and we have decided to draw a line in the sand and start again, if that makes sense. I have also looked into therapy for my childhood trauma, and all in all I am using this as an opportunity to better myself and heal fully. Thank you for all your kind comments. No assholes here. This seems more of a relationship_advice question. I don't think you're the asshole per se, but I can understand why your boyfriend would be questioning things after dating you for a year and a half and you not telling him the truth about a pretty important part of your past. I can see why you just use the "dad's dead" shorthand when you first meet someone, but after that amount of time, one would think you would have talked more about stuff like that. Maybe you both need some time to think. And maybe you should consider getting some personal therapy, if you can, to work through these feelings so you can talk about them. You are the asshole. It's 1.5 years into dating. Sure, not great third date material, but you could have said, "My mother is dead, and she was the only parent in my life," and just left it at that to begin with. Later, as you got more serious, you could tell him a bit more. "My mother is dead and I don't have a father, just a deadbeat sperm donor who let me grow up in foster care. He only comes around to ask for money sometimes. I'd always worry about what else you're lying about. You are the asshole. It's so easy to just say you had a deadbeat dad. But you lied. You didn't even lie by omission, you straight up lied to his face. You are the asshole. Now you look like a liar, and technically you are a liar. If he posted this from his point of view, everyone would tell him to run. It immediately begs the question, what else did she lie about? I haven't seen or spoken to my father in 14 years. Essentially I can say he's dead to me. But to go as far as saying he's dead is too far when you're in a relationship with someone. You are the asshole. I don't like talking about it, so to avoid that conversation with people I usually just say both my parents are dead. Avoidant is not exactly a desirable quality in a partner. Your boyfriend found out you are comfortable skewing the truth. Of course he is rethinking your relationship and whether he can trust you. What other truths do you hide or play down because it's more convenient for you? That's a very logical next question. YTA. Am I the asshole house sitting for a friend and she's mad about this? I'm so confused. I'm staying at my friend's house for the week and I'm watching her dog and house, for free I might add. She just freaked out at me because another friend came by real quick to pick up some food I got him. She saw him leave on her cameras. I feel like her reaction is extreme and inappropriate considering I'm going out of my way to help her this week when I didn't have to. Am I wrong? I don't even know how to respond to this. Text exchange copied below. Her. Did some guy just walk out the door? The cameras showed someone leaving the front yard. Me. Yes. Sorry, that was friend. I brought him barbecue and was too tired to drive it to him, so he picked it up. Her. Okay. I don't appreciate randos at my house. Please don't do that without telling me. Me. He's not a rondo. He's one of my best and closest friends for like 7 years now. He literally just picked up his food and was left after 5 minutes of chatting. I wouldn't invite someone dangerous or random or threatening to your house ever. Her. I don't care. I've never met him and I don't want strangers to me in my house without my knowledge. Update. Your responses really helped me see this differently from several different perspectives. I agree that I was taking her boundary a little personally. But I also think she could have been nicer about communicating it with me. Nonetheless, I decided to apologize. Here's what I said. Me. I'm really sorry I didn't let you know about, friend. I should have just walked the food out to the street for him to protect your space. You have a different boundary preference than I do about my home, so that's why I didn't think about it from your perspective. But I am sorry and it won't happen again. If she trusts you to watch her house and dog, this is a weird reaction. If I were you, this would be the last favor I do like this for her. Not the asshole. If I trust you with my house and dog, I trust you to allow someone to pick something up. You're not throwing a raging party. You're doing her a huge favor for free. If she is that paranoid, she should have let you know her rules first so you could decide if you wanted to follow them or not. Not be snarky about a why she never communicated. This would be the last favor I ever did for her. It is interesting how both reactions are represented here. I think a lot depends on how well you know your friend you are house sitting. If this was a good friend of mine, I would think she would have more trust in me and perhaps just ask about a visitor on her camera. You say yes, friend of mine. I can also see why you might be worried you just saw a person leaving your house when you are not home. Mostly I think you could both communicate better and perhaps rethink pet sitting in the future. Soft, you are the asshole. Sometimes people have real reasons to have extreme reactions to strangers in their private spaces without their consent that you may be unaware of. And they are not obligated to tell you why, as it likely involves trauma of some kind. And it is common courtesy to ask consent before bringing anyone into someone's home, regardless of you doing them a favor or not. Your friend should have made that boundary clear prior to the ask, but it doesn't matter if they are paying you, it's their house. It was innocent enough, but when you responded that you knew them, so it was fine. You ran all over their rights to make decisions about their home and who comes in it. That's where you ran off the rails. I mean, if she doesn't know the person, then she is in the right. Also, you said you bought the food, so why didn't you buy the food then just immediately bring it to his house afterwards instead of buying it then going back to her house and having him pick it up from there? She seemed pretty polite to me from what you gave of the text exchange about it. She said she doesn't want people she doesn't know at her house. Why is that an overreaction? Just because you know it doesn't mean she doesn't. Also, there's been cases where friends have house, dog sat for other friends but let the dog, house sitter, friends trash the place and steal stuff because they're given full access to the house. I wouldn't mind if my dog sitter had a friend over if she asked first. Finding out after the fact would bother me. Now you know she doesn't want anyone she doesn't know coming to her home. It's up to you if you'll dog sit again now knowing that.